I tell you to sit y'all's asses down on the couch?
If she came to the door, I'd just be like, hey, what's up? You look amazing. Amazing. It's because she does look amazing.
You sound like Kermit the Frog.
You know what I would do? You know what I do? She comes to the door, I open the door, and be like, why you at my door? That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Wow, you just playing your Wayne Shorter. You just have some random girl pop up to your door. You don't want to know what she wants.
Oh, unexpected?
Unexpected?
No. This was expected.
Oh, you was expect. Oh, this shit. Your
But
joint.
let's just.
You look amazing. It's fine, bro.
There we go.
You're
That's
not gonna
good.
run me for that.
But, I mean, just say you don't have a girlfriend.
Shit,
I ain't playing them.
I'm married. He got me.
I ain't playing them.
How you get in trouble
About to
for
get me, bro.
How do you get in trouble for you were just imagining? Was you imagining? So what if you did it?
Nah,
You don't
it's
get in
just,
trouble?
Nah. You said what?
Women don't understand.
Women don't.
I'm not even gonna play them games.
I don't agree with what he just said off camera. Austin said. He said women don't agree with hypotheticals. I don't assume to. I don't assume to know anything you agree or disagree with. I am very compliant.
I'm gonna just say that the hypothetical game ain't gonna rock this way.
Oh, okay, for real. Okay. Yeah. I'll do it then. I'll do it.
Go ahead. Knock on the door. Boom, boom.
I got lean. So I got it. So boom. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Ha ha. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? You look fly. Then I turn my back immediately. Okay. Why do you turn your back immediately?
Why?
Because you want her to know that, hey, I think you look fly, but I don't think you look that fly that quickly. I'm probably going to let you.
Depends on your relationship with this woman. You know what I'm saying?
Gary.
It's his girl.
He looked
it's
at
like
me,
the
so
girl.
we have a conversation.
Let me get this out.
All right, go ahead.
So then, with the music stuff, where's the music?
Oh, the Wayne Shorter.
Well, give me the Wayne
You want
Shorter.
the Wayne Shorter back?
Yeah, just bring it down a little
This
bit.
bit to pay off.
Yeah, I am too. That's how I was trying to let him get through it.
They stop me. You're like, you know what? You're putting a lot of pressure on me. I'm sweating right now.
If the Wayne Shorter in the background, I mean, you had to been cooking, gardening, cleaning. You was doing some type of work.
I'm cooking oxtail.
just sitting there.
curry goat.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? A little oxtail,
Yeah,
curry
with the
goat.
fan.
You know what I'm saying? I got the fan. I'm looking different. She like, this is a different type of brother.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying? She used to.
Here you go. Here you go. I already know something about the gun. When you start laughing before you even get the joke out.
She used to brothers like Gary. She come in their crib and stank of weed. Dennis Rodman
Man,
posted
Gary
on
just
the
chilling.
wall.
He ain't do nothing.
Dennis
My man
Rodman
just been
posted on the wall. Xbox store.
You got Dennis Rodman
Xbox
posters?
playing this shit.
Oh man,
Mario Kart.
Bro,
you got posters on the wall? Like,
Ashtray spilling over.
you
She's like, are you ready
Bunch
for
of
dinner?
roaches everywhere?
Bunch of roaches everywhere.
Like
You ready for
that.
dinner? Oh, I
Come
gotta take
on,
a
bro.
shower. She used to shit like that.
oh, she take a shower. She get in the shower.
No, he still gotta take a shower.
Oh, you still? you wasn't prepared.
How we going? How we going?
You gotta wait for 20 minutes. Then she gotta go to the bathroom.
She got the bathroom all dirty. Beard shavings in the bathroom in the sink.
And other,
this is
other
still all
shit too.
hypothetical, yeah?
Yeah, it is.
Toothpaste. The toothpaste.
All on the
The tube
bowl, I mean,
squeezed to
yeah.
death. Looked like a Mack truck ran over the tube.
The shower got a bunch of dry washcloth, like
Dry, nasty, crispy washcloths.
man.
He don't wipe his
Come on,
ass
man.
with.
Relax.
I'm just saying, like hypothetically, you know what I mean? We doing hypotheticals.
She's like, can I use your bathroom? He's like, yeah, to the left. She go back, she said, do you have any toilet tissue?
Oh, and he don't have no
He ain't
type
got
of guilt or nothing from me. He just like, yeah, it's over there.
It's over there. He's like, I got a rag, and she can wipe her ass with
It's
the rag.
not looking good for you,
Come
fam.
on, bro.
It's not
I
looking
got a
good for
rag.
you.
We got Branden Cook as our guest on the show here. Give it up for my boy Branden. Clap. You supposed to clap. Clap, man.
Thank you.
See, on this show, bro, we got in-house clappers.
Yeah, I see. Got a dude holding the sign. It's a dude over there holding the sign.
Oh, my God. Hey,
That's
listen, I'm going to ask you a real question. Gary be clowning me about this, but I'm going to be real with you, man. All right? What is the craziest, and you don't have to, listen, I'm going to preface it. I understand
I got a
where we
feeling
are.
already. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
What's the craziest experience you've had since you've been in Hollywood? Like, I can tell you.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I can tell you mine. I won't say the name, but I can tell you a story that I had that was just wild to me.
If I'm honest, I haven't really had any crazy ones yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to live on the boulevard, so Hollywood Boulevard, like the homeless people and stuff is wild. But in terms of like,
No,
you
I
talking
mean,
about going
on set.
out-
On set.
Oh, on set?
On
Not
set.
even. I've been like very blessed. All of my
That's-
sets have been A1.
Yeah.
Like everybody's been chill, cool. Like nothing crazy has happened. I had one dude. I won't say the show, but he's like a vet.
Yeah.
And we were doing this scene, and he was so nice. he plays like this like dude, like grungy dude or whatever. He was so nice though in real life. And then they kind of kept messing up the scene because it was kind of complicated. Like stuff had to go in the background, and then he had to turn and say something. And then eventually he did it, and they kind of stopped it and didn't work. And he was like, "Are we making a fucking movie or what?" And I was like, "Oh!" It like turned up.
Yeah,
but that's the craziest thing.
Yeah,
and that's light. Like I be hearing wild shit.
Obviously we can't say names or anything.
Yeah, nah.
But I was on set, and I had shot my scene, and I came back to my chair, and the actor or actress,
oh, that's nice. That's good. That's good.
The lead of the show went to shoot their scene, and apparently somebody on set had a breakfast sandwich and left it somewhere on set, not where it was visible so the camera could see it. None of that. None of that. It was just an unwrapped breakfast sandwich, and she or he yelled "cut" in the middle of the scene, and went off. What the fuck? You motherfuckers, you think this is your fucking house? You don't fucking live here? Whose fucking breakfast sandwich is this? Who fucking breakfast sandwich is this? Who? Of course, nobody was dumb enough to be like, oh, that's my breakfast sandwich. Nobody said anything, but he or she went off for a smooth 5 minutes.
Was it your breakfast sandwich?
Huh?
Was it yours?
It was my breakfast sandwich. I ain't say
mystery
shit.
solved. That's wild.
I ain't say shit, you know what I'm saying?
Actually, it was another story, this show I did. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. And basically, the two leads were doing the scene, and they were doing like a deep, like crying and all this other shit. And then the dude was like, out the corner of his eye, he saw somebody eating some bolognese in the middle of the scene, right in the eye line. Yeah. So as soon as he like looked down and looked back up, like trying to cry and all this stuff, the dude was just looking at him like this. And he was like, "Yo, get out the scene. Get out the scene." That would be wild though. That's
see. If you hear somebody, if you hear that dude eating the bolognese tell that story, he might tell it in a way that makes the what?
He's like, you with that fan right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Right. It's hot. That's not cooling you now. You getting air too, bro.
Okay, I'm looking at the fan.
Oh, so my bad. I mean, I guess I can't.
I got a question for you guys. You guys are both black actors in Hollywood. Is it what you expected? Is it harder because you're black? Like, how do you download that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like it's elements that are interesting. Like you can kind of tell sometimes when they're not gonna pick somebody black for it, or when like somebody white wrote it and they're like, "Oh, it's for a black guy," and it's like, "Oh, okay." Like you can definitely feel that. I think at times you get less opportunities to some extent. I mean, it's getting better now, but it's still not the same amount of opportunities. Like, I don't know any black people in the new Dune or the last Dune or like stuff like that. You know what I mean? I mean Zendaya, but Zendaya is Zendaya, which is different.
Yeah.
So like it's still a little challenging, but that's just from an access point of view of like the people who are creating the jobs not really being looking like us or women or, you know, Latino or whatever.
Do you think it's more of a like like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, like my relationships are with, you know, actors that are majority of the time they're white? Or
I think life is relationships though. Like
yeah, I agree with that.
I think if you have the right relationships, it could take you a lot further than sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes your talent. Like you see a lot of nepotism babies in this industry and stuff because their dad knew this person and that person. Not to say they're not talented, but it's a little easier. Sure. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's harder, but more times than not, it's a little easier because people know you. But I think life is about relationships, and I'm finding that more and more. So like if I had gotten a position like a Timothy Chalamet and, you know, made those relationships that early, then, you know, who knows? But a lot of times you don't see actors pop that early. You don't see black actors pop really that early. What about you?
No, I mean, you're spot on. I think that, and in no way, shape, or form am I giving an out to Hollywood, you know, when it comes to not creating more opportunities for people of color. But I think it's been going on for so long, they're just not accustomed. It's just a well-oiled machine of not expecting us to be leads in romantic comedies, you know. And I'm gonna like overdo it when I say this, but black people don't fall in love. They're not funny in rom-coms. I actually had, again, I can't say names, but I actually had a big person tell me, one of the biggest actors in Hollywood is black, They pitched him for a really big movie that they ended up being in the movie and fulfilling the role. But they told me that the head of the studio at the time told him, "That's all fine and dandy, but a black guy can't save the world." This was in like late 90s.
Yeah.
White dude just told him that black guy can't save the world. So you have people like that are very outright with it. Like, black people, you can't see a black superhero. Those things aren't cool. They're not accustomed to seeing us in that position. They're accustomed to seeing us in, the slapstick positions, right? Jokey, or that sidekick, or that friend, or what did Spike Lee, that phrase that he coined, the magical Negro.
Yeah.
Like that like the Green Mile, or the Legend of Bagger Vance, right? Or what's the movie that Viola Davis is in? The Help. Like that black actor or actress that's there to help assist the white star.
I think the real change though comes when you have more people with the money who look like you, or more people who are allies. But like, my thing is, and maybe this is very hopeful of me, but like, if you build those certain relationships, then it could help aid you to get to those positions.
Sure.
So like, but that comes with getting certain opportunities. That comes with getting in certain people's faces and stuff like that. But the lack, I think, is where the money is. Like, it's not enough black people with the money to be able to make their own stuff. And we're doing that. Like, you see different networks and shows popping up, so it's happening. But like, there is no, outside of Tyler Perry's thing, there is no studio that's as big as a Sony or a Paramount or something like that can support having this type of structure. So
how does the fire stay lit? Because I noticed during, the pandemic, we're all inside, and there was a bunch of civil unrest. There was a whole bunch of talk about opportunities, whether it be business, Hollywood, whatever, right? And so, at the time, we talked about this on the last podcast, where people stick a Black Lives Matter flag on their front lawn, right? Do you expect it to keep changing as quickly as it is now, or do you see it kind of falling off? Or have you seen it change?
I've seen it change, but I don't think it's changed exactly where we need it to. I think it's you see more black roles, but they're definitely more on the side. So now you see a lot of populated people of color as the side characters. So it's like, oh, we gave you your diversity, but if you look at TV, it's still, I would say, 80% white, if not more. And so I think, as long as we keep our foot on people's necks and like doing what we need to do in terms of, what a lot of these young black actors are doing, like Jonathan Majors and Yaya and Mahershala, they're having their own production companies, Michael B. Jordan. They're like building these relationships from doing all these jobs and then using that to kind of make their own films and television shows. So I think if we keep on Viola Davis with The Woman King, if we keep on that type of route and keep trying to elevate it and really pushing it and showing that not only do these stories belong, but we have that access and potential as well. I think it's going to take, I think we have to rely on ourselves as opposed to kind of putting everything on other people. Like, yeah, that is a factor, but what is that going to change? Like, either you make the relationship with this person or you don't. And then it's like, are you going to let that stop you or are you going to keep going?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're right about that. We have the means now. Let's just be honest. We live in the digital age. It's 2022. You just have but to write a script. You can shoot it on your iPhone.
yeah.
Switch it to 4K, 24 frames per second, cinematic mode, get a gimbal, and just go to work. Just have a script. Story will forever and always be the lifeblood of Hollywood. Pretty much every and anything. So, when you hear people say, we don't have this, we don't have that, shoot it. Just shoot it. Shoot it and put it up. And if it's good enough, someone will see it.
Yeah, I think the issue or the hard part is the transfer from doing what you said to then getting it to, you wanting it, everybody wants the thing to be on a HBO or a Hulu or something like that. So I think that's sometimes the difficult transfer part.
Yeah.
Because you have to, it goes back to relationships. You have to somehow build those relationships. You have to get someone to believe in you. And that's for anybody in this industry. You have to get somebody to believe in you. And sometimes it feels harder as, Black or brown people.
So it's different from like
sometimes.
like SoundCloud will blow up a rapper that no one's ever heard of, right? Like people
Very
used to
different.
get a
because that's not decentralized, but that's like an entity where anybody can go and there's no
YouTube
paywall.
was probably
the closest thing.
Closest, yeah. But even with YouTube, like I think I've seen people blow up on YouTube. Like Issa Rae started kind of on YouTube. I mean, she also was, I think, an assistant for somebody big at HBO, which helped. But like she did her whole thing on YouTube first. So like it definitely can help if somebody sees potential. But it's about doing those steps and then doing the other part, which is the relationship building as well. So if you're doing both, I think then it's only a matter of time. As long as you know, not a dickhead, because there's a lot of dickheads in this industry too.
I had a conversation the other day, and somebody was arguing that like money runs the world, and I'm like, no, relationships do.
Relationships,
because that's where the money goes, right? So it's interesting to hear that perspective.
It's funny you say that. I had a big exec tell me, this was before Will Smith became who he was, but he was like, Will Smith is next up, and it was a white guy, and I was like, you know. I was like, I don't think so. And he's like, I'm telling you, I'm in these rooms. He's next up. And then he named all the other guys that were coming up with him, the Leos, the Tobey Maguires, Jake Gyllenhaals and whatnot. And he's like, Will is going to be the next big box office Hollywood star. And I was like, why? And he said that. He was like, because, I'm not bullshitting, he told me this. Because you feel comfortable with him. You'll invite him into your house with your family. And, you know, he's just a great, nice guy. He's just likable.
But that's the thing, though, like, you hear a lot about people wanting to do it like their own way and whatever. And sometimes I think that's an excuse for you to be an asshole. Like everybody builds everything on relationship. Like I'm here now because like we kick it and we talk and we were cool and stuff like that. And you just, it's not really sucking up. It's not really, it is a bit of playing the game. I think there's a way to play the game and be genuine as well. But it is all about like being someone that people want to give hundreds of millions of dollars to, essentially. Like that's how you have to think about it.
If we take color out of it, let's just be real. If we just take color out of it and we're all at dinner, and let's just say Austin is a well-known racist white prick, and we don't know that,
Austin,
right?
I love you, dog.
No, I love you too, Austin. And we don't know that, and we're sitting at dinner with him, and I'm chopping it up with him, eating food, laughing, drinking, whatever. And then you walk over and you're like, man, he a fucking racist prick. Of course, you my brother, so I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm with you. But in my head, I'm gonna be like, well, my goodness, man, he was such a nice guy. We have the same thing in common. Our experiences seem similar. On a basic level, we're all the same, man. It's just that we put these walls in front of us. So you're right. Relationships are everything. They're everything. You know?
Yeah. And that's something that I'm realizing. Like I'm fairly new to the industry, so like I'm realizing and has already kind of done dividends for me, which has been amazing. Yeah. But yeah, just being like, someone told me this a long time ago. Like just be a nice person. Like do your job, do it well, but also just be a nice person. And like a lot of times that does a lot of the work for you. Yeah.
That's a fucking fact.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something about the authenticity with the writing. You were saying like, you see you're in an audition, you see a role, and you're like, oh, this was a white guy wrote this for a black guy. Like, how do you bounce back from that? Or it's like a white guy wrote this for a white guy, and I'm in here reading it just to fill diversity and inclusion thing. And it's just like, how do you bounce back from that sort of thing?
I mean, you gotta do your job at the end of the day. Like, unless it's just astronomically like offensive, it's kind of like, just do your job. And Michael B. Jordan said something a while ago. He was like, after he does his auditions, he kind of throws the papers out and forgets about it. And I think that's the best way. It's like being a quarterback. Like you can't think about the last play. But you see that a lot of like I feel that a lot of times that it feels like they're trying to fulfill a diversity quota or something like that. It's like, they're not gonna cast me for this. But yeah, you just gotta do your job.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell him the same story. Like I went in for the role of Billy the Butcher for The Boys.
Copy.
And a lot of the times you're just making the relationships with the casting directors. Because I looked at it, I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, right.
Hey, come on, man. And I read the comic. I read the comic too, so I knew what I was going in for. And I'm like, and then the breakdown.
He looked just like the dude.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's
you look at the comic, and they're like Michael Caine, Cockney accent, this, that, and other. And I'm like, Y'all couldn't even call me for Mother's Milk.
Yeah,
Billy?
at least
Definitely a
Mother's Milk.
diversity thing, or just we got to fill this quota. Let's bring him in.
It sucks because it makes you feel like you're not getting a real opportunity. It's like a pseudo opportunity, and then that doesn't really count. It's like the weird thing about affirmative action, isn't it? It's like you want the opportunity because you deserve it, but also if you're not getting the opportunity to begin with, then you're kind of like, well, I want the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it's an oxymoron. That's why I think those type of programs and diversity, inclusion, and all that is a little. Yeah. It's a little tough to. It's not black and white. It's pretty gray.
That's why it's kind of weird when they make a white superhero black. And a lot of the times I'm like, can we just create a new black superhero? Because now,
well, people lazy. Like if you look at most things being made right now, they're remakes. Yeah. They come from IP or something like that because it's easy, but also like it's easier to make a superhero that everybody knows already black. Yeah, but like, she might body that though.
Yeah. I think she gonna body that. Yeah, for real.
But it's easier to do that than to create a whole new world. Oh damn, I ain't even trying to keep it on that.
It's less risky though. It's less risky.
That's Aladdin, but it's still Disney. I see what you did there, bro. I like that.
But yeah, so. I think because it's harder too. If you notice, there aren't a lot of black fantasy and sci-fi. No, whether there be black people in it or black creators behind it.
Yeah.
In what movie?
Austin, say what you gonna say.
Is the movie we just watched, is that black enough for you?
Oh yeah, I'm about to watch that this weekend. I'm probably gonna watch it tonight.
I'm gonna watch it after this. Actually,
yeah. It's amazing. I heard it's really dope.
Yeah, there's not on the episode before we talked about how there was a big backlash with black elves and black Targaryens,
like, dumb
and
shit, man.
Dumb shit, which is fantasy shit, But
it's a made up like being. So what does it matter what race? Now, if it just doesn't make sense and it feels OD forced, then like cool. But like, a lot of times it's like, what does it matter? What are we talking about?
I thought that shit was fresh.
Which one?
In House of Dragon.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The dude with the locks. I only watched the first episode.
It was good. It was great. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. I mean, it's always gonna be somebody that does though. Yeah. That's a purist, but they don't understand that purist goes into other.
Purist goes into racism.
White purism.
And it's all fantasy. It's not like but I don't know. They just again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. They're just not accustomed to seeing us. And for the longest, they didn't believe black films would do well overseas until Black Panther did what it did, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, you guys can sell overseas too? Yeah. It's like you haven't even given us a fair shake.
It's like saying something won't work before you even try to experiment.
Yeah.
And experiment is a loose word, but yeah.
With the whole sci-fi thing and fantasy thing, we're talking about anime, right? I got my katana here. Got your katana too.
Give me some
Gary,
goggles.
Let me show you how uninformed Gary is about
where the goggles come from.
Yeah, where do goggles come from, Gary?
I don't know where they come from.
What type of anime do they represent?
Jason told me earlier.
No. You're supposed to know.
I don't know. I have no idea. There's a bag of props over there.
Steampunk.
Who?
Steampunk anime.
Steampunk.
You know what steampunk is?
I don't. I didn't know what the goggles were. I definitely
Gary,
don't know what
sometimes
steampunk is.
I wonder why I keep you around. Gary, for a little bit of backstory, a little context here, Gary and I went to high school together. When we were in school, Gary got bullied 24/7. Like he'd get beat up, they'd strip him naked, he'd be in his underwear and snot.
I was with you till they said strip him naked.
No, they were in his underwear.
They're stripping you naked, dog?
No, in his underwear. And he'd be like behind under the bleachers crying with his lunchbox.
Right.
And I'm gonna paint a picture for you because this was wild. Every time at lunch, I'd go to the bleachers because I knew he'd be there in his underwear, and he had a Star Wars lunchbox, and he'd be clutching it really hard in a little circle, like on the ground.
Fetal position.
Yeah, fetal position. Yeah, fetal position. Thank you, fetal position.
I got you.
And he'd have like Gary's nose ran profusely.
Yeah,
like, always.
What is happening?
His nose.
My man is a king of a bit, though.
Always ran.
He commit to the bit. He paint the whole picture, the whole story.
And the snot would dry up right under his nose, and then look like a white
the Viola Davis joint.
Like Viola Davis, but it would dry up.
Oh, okay.
So it would look like a white film mustache. And I always, my mom, God bless her, my mom was always like, bring these extra clothes for Gary.
I met this dude 2 years ago.
Yeah. I thought y'all went to high school together, bro. I'm like, oh, damn, okay. That's nice, man.
I just met him, dog.
That was really nice.
Oh,
2 years ago.
It may be a little longer.
I'm good. I'm good. Commit to the lie. If you ever need somebody to lie for you in court, I got you, bro.
My man.
I come in a wheelchair.
Well, we got it on camera now, so maybe we can share it.
I won't lie. I'm a Christian. But yeah, I think, steampunk, Gary. Remember that, steampunk.
Right on.
But the irony in all that is black people are huge anime fans. Like, they fucking love it. They do cosplay. What's homeboy and his boys Supreme Dreams?
I love them.
I love them.
Hilarious,
man. They're big anime dudes.
That's all they do. Like they got some of the funniest videos.
They got a big following too?
They got
huge following.
Millions.
They do a bunch of sketches with just like Anime House, all that other stuff.
Bro, I'm gonna send you their stuff. They do.
He does LeBron all the time too, right?
LeBron all the time.
Bro.
Yeah. But I think Crunchyroll, which was bought by Sony for like $1 billion. Crunchyroll is like the biggest anime platform ever. Crunchyroll, you gotta get Crunchyroll.
It's an anime.
It's an anime. It's like Netflix. I don't know how much is it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's dope. We got all the anime. Everything's on there. But I think Sony bought it for like $1 billion, and they sponsor like some sort of anime con for Supreme Dream.
Wow,
it's dope.
Yeah, they've taken their position and their love for something and just took it to the next level. Stay consistent and just like
DreamCon. There you go, DreamCon.
Wow,
which is just dope. And
amazing.
Growing up, I thought I was an oddball for like an anime because growing up the time I grew up, you know what I'm saying?
You were at that time, probably.
Yeah, probably.
You are.
But it's okay. Like it's so like I saw the little inner child get a little offended, and like
not at y'all.
Went back to that room.
Y'all my brothers. Y'all the three black dudes on the couch. Hold up one second. Hey man, don't talk. Hey, white guy off camera, don't talk unless I tell you to talk. Don't let me tell you again. A black man is your boss. Never forget that. Never forget that.
Yo, that laugh came from the gut.
Yeah. Not for long. You didn't read the paper. You didn't read the paperwork.
Still not reading your contracts, I see.
Oh shit. Oh god. Y'all crazy.
Nah, man. But yeah, anime, I was never huge into it, but I appreciated it. And it was always, you always got the weird, it's always one weird black dude that's too into anime.
Too hard.
OD on the other side.
Yeah.
So you always see that, but I had a couple friends that was into it.
Be trying to make the Rasengan.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that is. Is that the Kame joint? No.
That's Dragon Ball Z, bro. Rasengan is Naruto.
See.
I ain't tripping, bro.
I apologize.
I'm like you,
Naruto.
man.
That's Naruto.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that.
I appreciate it, but I haven't watched a whole bunch of it.
Hey, let me tell you how powerful this stuff is, bro. My little brother put me up on this, and one summer.
You know how many dudes I done seen run through the hallway?
So many dudes do that run. So many. I saw Kelly Oubre on a basketball game do that.
That's funny,
yeah, everybody does. That's Naruto. That's how they run.
Yeah, for sure. My fault. I could.
Don't trip. I mean, let's look at that. I like that, bro.
That's funny.
You know, Naruto is from the Leaf Village.
The Leaf Village.
The Leaf Village. That's why the thing on his head, or the forehead.
Yeah, Naruto hard though. He amp up.
Yeah, he amp up big time. You know what I'm saying? Got the 9 tails.
Is he a different type of like? Is there a world where he's a variant of Dragon Ball Z stuff?
All of them are a variant of that.
Really?
All of them are a variant of like all of them are a variant of the Bible. Like all superhero stories, right? That one person that's the chosen one that will
the hero story.
The hero story. It's all the same thing. They just tell. The amazing thing is they tell it to you in so many different ways and forms. But
Did they ever cross plot like Goku versus?
No, they never do that.
They got a video game like that though.
A video game like that, yeah. Capcom does that with Marvel superheroes against X-Men.
So what was your experience like growing up as one of the few black dudes?
I got teased all the time. Really? I got teased all the time. I think I was telling him about how I love the anime and skateboards and shit like that. And I wear backpacks. I'm like your consummate like I crawl so you can walk, bro.
Okay. Respect.
I crawl so you can walk.
Okay.
I got teased for skateboarding. I got teased for wearing backpacks. I got teased for watching cartoons and anime. All the shit that you see on Atlanta now and all that that's popular. Growing up in like the 90s, late 80s and 90s, man, I grew up in the projects in Detroit where everybody was selling crack cocaine. That was the thing to do. Instead, I was running and watching cartoons because it was like Jason. We talked about it. It was a form of escapism.
Yeah.
Right, you could just check out. You know?
But that goes back to the sci-fi fantasy element. That's why like the lack of it. Like there's two ways. This is a slight detour, but there's two ways I think to entertain yourself. I feel like as a person of color, like either you have, in terms of media, you go into history or like celebrating people that are forgotten, have been forgotten, or you go into escapism. And I feel like there hasn't been enough escapism in film and television for Black people. I feel like, you know, you see a lot of things that are playing to some degree on like horror and fear of like Lovecraft Country, love that, but that was still playing on the sundown states or sundown towns and stuff like that were like horrific for Black people.
Yeah.
What's another good example of Them that's show on Amazon?
I haven't watched that.
I won't watch it. It just looks like a horror film for Black people. Even Kindred, which was like, which is coming out soon, which is Octavia Butler, and like it. At the time, it was probably amazing. At the time, it was probably revolutionary. But now, it doesn't look like something I would like to revisit because she's getting thrown back in the slavery.
Which is
like
amazing for your generation, because I was telling Gary and I talked about this. Your generation don't give a fuck about that. Y'all pushing forward. Y'all that's tired. We don't want to see no slave stuff. We don't want to see none of that. Which is the amazing thing. I think
there's a balance.
Dare I say it, Kanye been harping on that for a minute.
What?
We don't want to keep seeing this. Show us something.
Kanye has a problem with how he says stuff.
He's terrible. Yeah. He's terrible.
Yeah, he has a problem with that. But no, he says some stuff that's like that makes sense when you get a chance to break it down.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's great.
No. So a lot of people don't want to take the time to break it down because there's a lot to break down.
The delivery's terrible.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, you know, it's interesting because I was telling them how when Black Panther, the first Black Panther came out, and I went to see it with my boy, a white guy that we always go see movies together. And we were watching it in the theater. All the Black people were walking in with their African garb and stuff like that. And he was like, man, why all the Black people dressed like that? And I was like, yo, this is the first time Black people are seeing themselves portrayed in this regal manner, this great, amazing manner. And I was like, it goes much deeper than that. Some child is gonna see that, and from that, something amazing is gonna be born. Like some kid saw that paper mache movie that we talked about. I always use a reference, Jason, from the late, 19th century of the rocket flying to the moon. And that kid created, what's it called?
I've seen that
Voyage
before.
Yeah, and some kid saw that and created the jet propulsion system. You get inspired through art because, life imitates art. You have to see it first, right, before you can make it happen. So I think your point is strong. It's right on point. It's correct.
So I'm a big proponent of pushing that forward. Black people in space, Black people, and I think my generation is a little more about pushing forward, but I think there's a balance. Like I think if we had the proper education in school, then we wouldn't feel the need to try and always tell it through movies and then images, because images are powerful. And not to say that, it always has to be happy-go-lucky or hunky-dory, but images are powerful, and if you feel like every year there has to be a movie that is showing Black people as subs or whatever, then it can go on your brain. But I don't know, it's complicated, man.
No, you're spot on. Images are powerful. Let's not forget that in wartime they used images and propaganda to influence people,
right?
Make them think. Media is the most powerful thing in the world. It influences how you think, how you vote, who you're prejudiced against, who you love, what you want to eat, what you want to watch, what you want to listen to, how you want to dress. There's not one goddamn thing that you can say that it doesn't touch.
Yeah.
So, and the most powerful form of media is film and television. It's just
so true. And advertisement.
And advertising. Film and television, television created for advertising.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a big part of the economy, right? You're too young to remember this, but years ago when they had the writer's strike out here.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and man, I had no idea how powerful it was in flower shops, restaurants, limousine services. All these things were shutting down. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, oh shit, this is far reaching. Wow. This is, really far reaching. 2007, wasn't that long ago. 2007, 2008.
Oh, 2007, yeah.
So no, you're
might
right.
be another one,
Huh?
It might be another one.
Oh, great.
I think at the beginning. Yeah, I know, right?
Great.
It's gonna be very interesting pilot season and stuff. But yeah, I think there might be another one at the beginning of the year potentially.
Wow.
So just be prepared for that. I don't know if it'll be this big, but
You know what it's about, Gary? Why they're striking all the time?
I don't.
All right, because of the new media. They're trying to figure out how to pay. You know, the studios are like, I don't know the true details of it all, but writers are saying how they're not getting paid properly off of new media, and the studios are saying we don't really know how to pay you because this is new territory, it's undiscovered, which people don't.
Of course,
it's all made up, isn't it? So just make it up.
Huh?
Yeah.
Always one step ahead, right? They're always one step ahead.
It's wild.
It's gonna crumble eventually. Like
what is
their existing model?
It has to.
All of them, yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, no, it's a wrap for it.
You know, I mean, it's that's why with YouTube and all these different platforms, studios aren't as powerful as they used to be, especially with kids going out and just shooting in the middle of the street, and then obviously relationships, like you said, but by happenstance, something popping, people are starting to understand it more and more. Like, wait a minute, I don't need you.
Yeah.
I don't need you. If I got 1 million followers, if I have 250,000 followers.
Yeah.
Hell, a friend of mine told me, and I did not know, that there's a thing called micro influencers when you have like 5,000 to whatever. And she was saying her friend manages micro influencers, and she was like, they really between 1,000 and 100,000 followers, and she was saying
shit, I
they
might need
really
to get on that.
Huh?
I said I might need to get on that.
You're a micro influencer. And she was saying they really count because every person there is actually there for you.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
that you taking your shirt off or your clothes off or nothing like that. They're there for you. And she's like, they make a lot of money, which I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's like I was listening to some dude. It was about music though, and it was like you only really need like 1,000 core fans, because if 1,000 people buy your CD for $10, well,
Start.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe not 1,000 fans, but you don't need as many fans as you think. If they're real loyal fans,
Logic here is simple. To make 6 figures of income, you realistically need 1,000 people to purchase $100
product from you annually.
Remember what Nipsey did?
What was
He sold
it?
a CD for
$100?
$1,000. Is it $1,000?
He did something
Nip
wild.
did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, how many you have to sell?
Yeah.
So it's just like it depends on what you want, right? It always boils down to what you actually really want, because if you want, the fame, the glory, all of that stuff, which some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, like, then you might have to go a more traditional route.
Yeah.
But if you just want to get something out there, then yeah, you can make it on your phone. You can go make these relationships as well, and then see where it takes you from there, and do something that makes you happy. That's kind of what Russ did, I think. I think he went the other route.
He's independent.
100%
independent. Yeah.
I related a lot to music sometimes. Like I listen to some of those podcasts because it's not exactly the same, but sometimes it's similar, and it's interesting to hear how people are doing it there, opposed to how we're doing it, and it's so different, but it's inspiring sometimes.
Yeah, Russ is very informed. I've heard him speak on numerous occasions. He really knows the business. What's my man from the Bay Area that's killing it? I'm always talking about, young dude. God, he's doing it too.
Yeah.
Oh, the dude, he just started popping crazy.
Yeah.
He was just
He does it
outside
in his
of
backyard.
stores.
Yeah, he does his backyard his house.
I've been following
L.A.
him.
Russell or something like that.
Yeah, Russell,
something like that. Yeah, he's
a
dope.
problem, man.
Yeah,
I've been
he's
following
dope.
him since he was before he even blew.
For real?
And I remember watching this stuff like, yo, this dude is different.
Really?
He's
cold.
different, really talented, but he's the same way.
I only found him, I think, few months ago, because he had an ad. Like, them ads work, man.
Yeah, they
them
do.
ads
Yeah,
work. Because I was watching him, I was like, oh, he can flow.
They do.
And then it came up a couple more. I ain't follow him at first. It came up a couple more times. Like, nah, he getting off. I'm gonna have to.
He
go
get
ahead and
off.
follow him.
It's almost to the point where when I listen to him rap, I'm like, man, I don't want to hear no beat behind. I don't want to hear no beat. I love how you do this instrumental flow.
I think it's Lil Russell or L.A. Russell.
Yeah,
or
Lil
something
Russell.
like
I'm
that.
pretty sure it's Lil Russell. Yeah. And let me ask you a question. I want to ask you this.
Me?
Yeah. Not Gary. I got you. There's nothing can tell me. Have you found in the industry with your peers, black actors, black directors, black writers, whatnot, do you feel like the majority of them are very inviting to you and welcoming? Being young and being new here and being young in the industry.
You know what? It's what's interesting is I haven't worked with a lot of black creatives in my short span, which I found very interesting, and something I actually like am sometimes envious of people who get to.
Yeah.
The ones that I've actually worked with have been amazing, very supportive.
Yes.
Now, some of the other ones that I hear stories about, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
I've heard Big Dude, he on his way.
Yeah.
I heard some very like not great things from multiple different people about him. A very crabs in a barrel mentality. Anything bad I hear, I feel like I can always kind of break it down to just survival mode almost.
Yeah.
Or I think anybody who is a black actor who's on the there can only be one mentality.
Yes.
I think that's very survival mode, it's selfish first of all, and it's kind of self-absorbent, but it feels very like you're trying to protect what you have, but what you don't realize is like there's enough money out here for everybody.
There's enough for everyone.
Like I can't take your spot because I'm not you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think some people are just very protective of themselves, and it might not be. They might seem standoffish, but it's just because they are just protective of their livelihood and stuff like that, and it might not be intentional. We were talking the other day.
We were talking about that.
And I don't think that was intentional.
No, not at all.
I don't think it was intentional at all. And I
all.
understood it because some people just like this industry, it could take a lot from you. What I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I'm new. So it could take a lot from you. And so I can understand someone wanting to protect that and be very careful of who they give energy and stuff.
How much of that? Sorry, go ahead.
No. Okay, I'll go, Gary. Thank you.
I forgot Gary was here.
Yeah, I forgot Gary was here.
Keep trying to look at him to bring him in.
My man. What's interesting is, that and critiquing one another, because white people can critique one another. You have white critics that when a white film or white television show comes out, it gets critiqued.
Yeah.
If a black actor, performer, anybody in the industry of color, black, if you critique, it's like, man, come on, you being a hater. It's not a lot of us. So why you hating on it? And I was critiquing, I can't say what I was critiquing, but I was critiquing something, and this black girl said something to me that really rocked my world. I'm an idiot. I think I know everything.
Sure.
And what you mean, sure? Like you feel like
no.
you feel like I'm just,
I gotta watch doing that.
You're like, sure you are.
Nah. Like, sure, like, yeah, I got you.
are.
Sorry.
She said something that made so much sense. She was like, we need the opportunity to make those mistakes and make those bad films and fuck up and it be crass and overwritten and all that stuff like our white counterparts got. They got the opportunity to fuck up and fuck. Woody Allen's and the whatever, they got the opportunities to fuck up, and then they got it right. We don't get those opportunities. And when we do get them, if we fuck up, that's it. You had your one chance. That's it. You're not gonna get to make 10 films to be able to make one. And she was like, so O'Neal, before you judge this film harshly, give him an opportunity. There's not gonna be a whole bunch of Barry Jenkins that just
right.
Or Steve McQueen's.
But what's the balance? I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah. But there is a balance. I should be able to critique you and you still get another opportunity to learn from your mistakes.
Perfect world.
That's how you learn through
definitely.
criticism, right?
So I think in an ideal world, in a perfect world, there would be the balance of the two where I could say, hey, I didn't like this, and this, and you could take that information and get the opportunity then to try and get better the next time. But at the same time, because of the industry, sometimes you don't get that second opportunity because it didn't get good results. So then do we lie so that they get another good opportunity? That's not making them a better artist. Yeah. So then it's constantly like this.
God, I got something to ask y'all, but I don't know if I should ask y'all. I can't remember. No, keep going.
But yeah, I think that's the issue. Cause like, there's plenty of stuff like that I don't like, but I don't want to talk bad about because I'm like, damn, I want them to succeed, or I want them to get another opportunity to get better, to succeed. And a lot of things is taste. Like everything, I had a teacher that used to always just be like, it's taste. Like I might not like it, but somebody else might, like.
And which plays a role, okay, have you guys been watching this new season of Atlanta?
I haven't seen the newest one. I saw the one before.
Okay, so let me just say this. And it's taste. It's taste. Right. For me, it's taste. This is my opinion. Listen, Donald Glover and his partner, Hero Mariah, and his brother, they can do no wrong in my eyes.
Okay.
They can, but then I'm a black weirdo dude. So I like that. I like seeing us in this being portrayed in this uncommon way. I would argue that there's more black hippie, weirdo, existential out there than the gang thug dice shooting. Sure. But we just never had a voice. And now that Atlanta is doing so well and people are like, oh man, it's just so amazing. It's just amazing. To a person like me, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a shit ton of us out there like this, that like this type of stuff. You just never gave us the opportunity. I say this all to say this season 4, I watched episode, God, I don't want to mess it up. I think it was episode 6. But I'm pretty sure Mr. Chocolate was supposed to be Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I ain't even seen the episode, but from the title I could tell.
I was watching it, I was like, when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself like, man, even though apparently there was no backlash, and Tyler Perry is powerful. You can't just speak recklessly. But apparently there was no backlash, not that I know of, but this was Tyler Perry that he was talking about. And he pretty much.
What did he say? I need to watch
the episode.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I don't want to, spoiler alert. But he pretty much says what a lot of people have been thinking and saying, from him only writing all the scripts to him dominating every single thing.
I respect the hell out of Tyler Perry only because how many black jobs has he created?
Yes.
A black-owned studio.
Yes.
He's making his own table rather than sitting at someone else's, right? But I don't know anything other than that, right?
I idolize Tyler Perry's business acumen.
But I think everybody does. I think everybody who is critical of his artistry is very supportive and rah-rah about his like business side. I think there is the obvious notion that, you got to be 10 times better and work 10 times harder and all of that.
Cliche shit, I hate that.
Life is about balance, right?
Yeah.
I think if you want to be a well-rounded person because that's what you admire and strive to be, great. But the moment that we start doing it for someone else or to prove to white people that we're this or that, I think that's where it becomes a complex for a lot of black people, because now you're putting this pressure on yourself. You're putting this thing that is a social construct anyways, you're adding to that actually when you're trying to defeat it. So if it's fueling you in a positive manner, then cool. But if it's getting to the point where, it's just like, it's bringing you down and stuff like that, and you're like, I have to prove to these people. It's like, you don't have to prove to nobody, bro.
I want to be different.
You ain't got to prove. You ain't got to prove shit to nobody. You got to prove shit to yourself. That's literally it. Like you only got to answer to yourself and God, if you believe in God or whatever you believe.
You believe in God?
Yeah.
All right. Gary, you believe in God?
Absolutely.
All right.
So it's a weird spectrum or realm of things that we have to think about. I had a white teacher call me out on that, actually.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I was in drama school, and I'm really hard on myself anyways. And we were having kind of reviews, and I was telling her I was struggling and want to do this, that, and the third. And she was like, she didn't even apologize for it. She was just like, a lot of black students come in here with that same mindset, and you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to me because I was like, here's a white lady telling me some shit that like actually to some extent might help me in the long run.
Yeah.
Might help me bring some peace to myself. Because if I'm trying to prove to all of them, then I'm not taking care of myself really either, am I? So I just found that really interesting. And she was looking out, shout outs to her. But yeah, I've always thought about that and tried to be very careful about going too hard on the I gotta prove or I gotta be better or this, that, and the third, because it's not about that, man.
I had someone ask me before, when I walk into a room, an audition room, and I see all these white actors, they're like, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're less than as far as, performance wise and whatnot? And I had never given that any thought. Maybe I'm ignorant to the fact, I don't know what it was, but anytime I would walk into audition rooms, I never felt like I was less than any of my white counterparts.
And you shouldn't.
Quite the contrary, I felt like I was better. I was like, I'm about to wipe the floor with all y'all. Even though I know this is meant for y'all and it is written for y'all, but I know that I'm about to wipe the floor with you. I think it comes from that. It's some form of trauma that we have.
100%.
We're trying to feel like, okay, man, I know these bricks have been put on my back, so I got to run these 20. That's why when I said cliche, it is because I just explain it and said it that way. But as I was explaining it, fully aware, like, man, we're operating in this cliche, like trying to be at peace with who we are, but at the same time being like, okay, man, you know, I got to be. You got to be 10 times. I heard somebody say that the other day that that's the wrong thing to tell your kid. You got to work 10 times better.
I was just about to ask you, both of y'all,
say that
actually, like, do y'all think that when you raise kids, do you think it's important to teach them that, oh, it's a white man's world and you have to kind of go hard? Or do you think it's important to just help guide them along the way? Because some people, like, obviously, I think older generations were more so on the side of, no, it's a white man's world and you're constantly fighting against, you know, essentially the white man, right? But I think in like my generation and maybe even yours, I think that's kind of, I don't know if that's as helpful because it's already, I think to an extent, it's teaching you already that you're behind.
Yeah.
It's teaching you already that there's something wrong with you. And not saying that shouldn't be discussed or talked about when things happen. I think it's a reality. But if I'm taught from the beginning that I'm looked at as less than when I walked into the room, then that's already a burden that I have on me. If I walk into a room and I don't have that mindset at all, then I'm starting here as opposed to starting to thinking like that. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if I'm clear or not.
It does. And to answer your question, the way I raise Mike, and he's young, he's 5, right?
Right.
I'm not going to raise him to say, hey, you're operating in a white man's world.
Right.
He'll figure that out on his own.
Right.
Whether it's going to knock at his door, he's going to open it. It's going to be like, oh, this is the world I'm living in.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I'm just going to push him in the right direction, uplift him without any of those kind of guardrails, right? And I think that's important. To your point, like, you don't want this self-fulfilling prophecy of you're less than to impact all areas of your life when really it doesn't have to, right? And if it does, which it will eventually, because this is reality, he'll figure it out on his own.
Yeah. And you'll be there to guide him.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't know, you know, me and my daughter had a conversation about this the other day. I don't know, I'm torn still because with Gary saying that it'll knock on his door and he'll discover it on his own, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I don't want my daughter to be surprised.
Sure.
I don't want her to open the door and be like, oh shit, you know, why didn't you prepare me? So I'm literally split down the middle. There'll be times when I'm telling her like, hey, you're in, you know, white people do these sorts of things. You know, you'll have your Austins and, you know, they'll do some shit like that, you know. His face. I'm just playing, bro.
I thought he was saying like Austin, like he's
done. His
face, he was like, I'm just kidding. I don't want her to be surprised, man. I want her to have some knowledge of the past,
right?
And that it revisits you over and over again.
100%.
So let me just be honest without trying to be politically correct here. If I'm being honest, I inform her more. I tell her like, this is what you have to be prepared for. Now, of course, you can go out and do anything that you want, blase, splee, and all that other stuff. But listen, man, if these last 3 years have taught us anything, it's that this shit ain't going nowhere no time soon.
For sure.
And then it's here. You know,
I think, but that question of whether I would sit down with my son and say, hey, this is what you need to prepare yourself for, versus not saying that, not putting that burden on his back, is very black and white. But he sees his dad. His dad's going to go through this in real time, right? Yeah. And he's going to see, like, get real life experiences around it. So absolutely, I would never like expose him to the past, history, all these things, extremely important, right? But if you're asking me point blank, would I go ahead and put this burden on him or say, hey, you are operating in this matrix and we don't own it, so this is how you have to do it, A, B, and C? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because I would question you, and I don't have an answer. I don't have kids. I don't have any answer.
I don't have an answer either. We're just working.
Yeah, man. You're never gonna have an answer. You'll get a handbook.
Do you think that if you tell your kids those type of things too early in attempts to help prepare them, that you then in fact limit their mindset?
You know, I used to think that, but with the advent of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all these other platforms, their kids are 10 times smarter than we were. Right. They just are, and they absorb information much faster. they have all the knowledge without the experience. You know what I'm saying? They haven't actually walked the walk we've walked or walked down the paths, but they know everything. They can Google and look it up and whatnot. So I think we're insulting their intelligence if you don't just talk to them like that. Like my daughter, when I talked to her like she was normal.
She is normal.
She is normal. My daughter's normal. I didn't mean in no way, disclaimer, no way, shape, or form. Huh? You think I talk reckless?
Yeah, for sure.
How old is your daughter?
How you gonna tell me I talk to my daughter, man?
I'm not telling you
You talk to her just like that. You talk to her just like that.
How old is she?
I'm telling you how to talk.
She's 15, going on 30. And ever since she was like 2, 3 years old, I would talk to her. I'd be like, nigga, come here. And all that stuff, man. But listen, the way she is, bro, and it's a big credit to her mom, obviously, but the way she is magnificent. I couldn't have crafted a better version of myself.
I love this.
Couldn't have crafted it.
I love that.
Love. She is me on steroids. I can't wait to see you as a grown woman too. You're gonna be killing it.
That's
She's
really
me on
sweet.
steroids.
That's
Man.
really
She's like my
dope.
best friend.
That's dope.
Like all that stuff, man. I hit the jackpot, and a big part of it was. I think I could be dead wrong, but I talked to her like she was normal. I'm not. No, girl, stop saying that. In no way, shape, or form I mean anything about that. I talked to her like she was an adult.
Yeah.
And I didn't Google talk. I was like, man, get your ass over here. Austin has seen for a couple of years. He's seen me.
So
how I talk to her.
interesting, man.
Some people look at it like, man, yeah. But our relationship is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's dope.
So
That's really dope.
so
I've pondered that for a while. I don't know. I'm not having kids anytime
You got
soon.
time.
Yeah, I got some time.
you sure you ain't got no kids out there you know about?
No, I am 100%
Playboy.
sure. No, sir,
Playboy.
not me.
You're like, not me.
No, sir. Yeah, I think about that all the time because it's like, like kids are so important, man. Like how like parenting is underrated, I think. You know, like a mother and father figure and doing that correctly because it's not easy. You know, nobody has a handbook. So you're figuring out on your own. And even if there is a handbook, it's so particular to the person and the circumstance and the nature of where they grew up and the nurture of how that, you know what I mean? Like it's so specific to each kid because how you raise one kid isn't the same necessarily how you raise the next kid. Because you learn different stuff and whatever. So it's something that I take with, or that I will take with pride and a lot of thought. And I already know up front or from what I'm hearing, like, you ain't gonna get it right all the time. But I'm thinking about that stuff now, like the question that I just asked y'all, I'm thinking about now because it's like, you know, it shapes things. It potentially could shape how my daughter or son, because we also don't know how the information that we're giving might affect and how they may receive it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So an interesting example of that is like, so when I was growing up, there were color lines, point blank period. Like if you would ask me, hey, which one is Johnny? The white kid that was there playing on the basketball team, whatever, right? If I asked my son, which person is that? Green shoes, red shirt.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? And so who am I to say, wait, actually, this is how, you know, this is we define people by this color or ethnicity or whatever.
Well,
right?
I think they all at your son's age, they all start out like that. It's the world that starts to shape them.
They do, but for me at a young age, whether it was influences from home or whatever, like it was very clear. Like, okay, well, this is how I define these things. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want my son to do that.
But that's not necessarily wrong because you turned out all right. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know.
Multiple ways to skin a cat.
Hey, listen, man, Branden, this was great, man. You're an amazing brother, man. You're an amazing brother, man. It's a great conversation, man. We'd love having you on. This
I love you on
our
industry
segment,
as well,
man. You know?
I really did. I really did.
Yeah. It's been 3 black guys on the couch. Please please subscribe. Again, I want you to understand this is just our opinion. You know, don't take this as law. All right. We were going to talk about cosplay thoughts. I really want to talk about cosplay
I'm so
thoughts.
glad we didn't talk about it.
I want to talk about thoughts and how they put the contacts in their eyes. But Branden wanted to go on.
They can tune in next week. And
Yeah, if you
we're
like and
talking about
subscribe.
cosplay thoughts.
Say it again, Austin. You may speak.
He's sitting on the couch by himself.
He gonna be sitting right here by himself.
White guy off camera.
Next
speak.
week we'll be talking about cosplay thoughts. You have that to look forward to.
Yeah, like and subscribe, and you'll get to see that. Thank you so much.